Hi guys, so today I'm here to do a quick book talk for you because I just finished reading Circe by Madeline Miller. This book was absolutely insane. This is probably one of my favourite books now. It's so much Greek myth, but so much more than I expected to find in it. I've always been a bit obsessed with it, but it's just kind of brought out all the different stories that I didn't know about. Basically, it's about Circe, who is a goddess, and she's the daughter of Helios, but she also becomes a witch. When she finds witchcraft basically, and she turns this mortal soul, this guy she kind of falls in love with, she turns him into a god, and brings him into the house and everything, to the halls, and everyone's swoons over him because they're like, wow, another god. They want him to have the same power. He has his own castle. One of the other nymphs, like Circe, ends up finding him, and Circe turns this witch, or this nymph, into this big horrifying creature, without really meaning to, and send her to stand on these big waters above this big river, and she becomes this big monster that just starts destroying all the ships and everything that pass. But what she does, and her going against her own people basically, has Circe exiled to the island of Aya, and the book goes through her whole existence. It's so good. There's so much to talk about. She becomes a witch, obviously, like I said. She begins her witchcraft. She begins to get a lot better at it, has more control over it. Hermes often comes to visit her, as does a mortal soul called Daedalus. He's quite a big one in Greek myth as well. Her sister is called Pasiphae, and Pasiphae is the mother of the Minotaur that we know from the story Theseus and Minotaur. Her brother that she was once close to kind of abandoned her. His name was Aeetes, or Aeetes, and he also had a child who she later comes across in. Pretty much, it's a really, really beautiful story that shows Circe's determination the whole way through, because she's constantly going for things and trying to help people and welcoming people to her island, even though she's exiled. People need her help, and she's constantly trying to help them, and they're constantly appearing to her, and then she's always left on her own. There's so many different gods that come to her. There's these different soldiers, a big ship basically that comes to her, and a few different ships, and she gives them food and shelter and everything. But basically, her father Helios watches over basically, because he's the sun, and ignores the fact that she is basically raped over and over by all of these different men, and until she learns to come up with a bit of witchcraft of her own basically to stop it happening. She turns all the men into pigs and puts them in her farm. So all the men that she falls in love with Daedalus, he ends up leaving her, I think. He tells her stories. Later on there's Odysseus. I can never pronounce these names, but Odysseus, and she falls in love with him, and then they end up having a child together, and the child ends up leaving her later. It's really sad. It's just it shows her constant determination basically, and her constant love for other people, but she's always left with nothing, and it's really quite sad but touching at the same time. There's so much to it, guys. You really need to read it to understand what I'm talking about, and I'm not very good at explaining things, but I'm trying to give you as much as I can. So she basically ends up having a child called Telegonus, and her first years with him, he's very, very Like, he cries and screams constantly, and when he grows up, he wants to leave the island. He doesn't want to be stuck there with her, which is fair enough. He wants to see the world. Then he realises who his father is, and he wants to go after his father. And his father has basically become the king of this other island, and has a wife, and they have had a 1-year-old child at the time when Circe knew him. So when Telegonus goes there, basically at first Circe doesn't want him to go, but she knows that she can't really stop him, so she gives him the supplies and everything that he needs for the trip. And he comes back and he says that his father basically is dead, because his father grazed himself with the poisonous spear that Circe gave him, for protection, basically, because Athena had constantly come to Circe, because she was afraid that if this child grew up, he would cause someone in her life harm or death, and she just wanted to kill him as a baby. And Circe wouldn't let him, and Circe had put this big witchcraft protection spell over the whole island, so that no god or goddess could come, including Athena, who is very, very powerful. But yeah, she basically managed to hold off all these gods that whole 16 years of him growing up. And then when he was 16 or so, he went over to find his father, and he took this poisonous spear with him, just in case he came across any big dangers, like Skylar, because he had to pass through her waters to get there. And he wanted to find his brother Telemachus and his mother, her mother, Telemachus' mother, Penelope, who is Helena of Troy's sister as well. But of course his father dies, and they find out that the son and the mother are banished, so they end up coming back with Telegonus. So Circe has them all on her island for quite a while. And I just got to the ending, and then ending in a kind of weird way. It's quite sweet, but also quite messed up. But I suppose a lot of Greek myth stories are quite messed up. Basically, she ends up falling for the son, Telemachus, not her son, Odysseus' son. So basically, her son's brother, which is a little bit messed up, but at the same time, it was kind of sweet. But they ended up having, I'm giving away spoilers, guys, but I can't help it. Yeah, they have a son. No, they have 2 daughters together. And in the end, she turns herself into a mortal, because she never really wanted the kind of same power that all of her brothers and sisters had. So yeah, very, very powerful story, guys, and probably one of my favourite books of all time, because it's just so good. I've been reading it for weeks. I haven't been able to stop reading it, or get through it till the end of it. It's just one of those never-ending ones. It takes you ages, but I'm really glad I read it, and yeah, definitely one of my favourites. Probably going to give it 5 stars, to be honest. It was so beautifully written as well. The language was just so beautiful. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys very soon in another video. Please go give this a read. I'm going to try and read Song of Achilles now, which is also by Madeline Miller. Let me know what you think of that one if you've read it, because I'm definitely going to give that one a try now that I've read this. And I'd also love to read more Greek myth books, so any recommendations for me would be great, guys, because I don't actually know that many, considering I love Greek myth and I write about Greek myth. But yeah, any help would be great, guys. So I am going to get ready to go to work now, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye.